The Israeli army has launched airstrikes on the Gaza Strip.
Sources say 3 explosions occurred in the area. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I am Randy Bernardino.
And I am Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Heavy traffic and long queues at seaports cause stress to travelers. Brace for an increase in fuel pump prices next week. China sends warships and aircraft around Taiwan for second day. U.S. President Joe Biden accepts King Charles' invitation for state visit. And Blackpink's Rosé says she misses her Filipino fans. Expressway or stressway? This is what many people have expressed after traveling through the North Luzon Expressway to go on vacation during the long holiday. Vin Pascua tells us more.
It's getting worse. Instead of being able to distress Filipinos who are going home to their provinces or going on vacation, are getting more stressed because of the horrible traffic on NLEX, especially this past Wednesday and Thursday. It seems like the long weekend will be spent right on the North Luzon Expressway by travelers. It feels like a staycation inside their vehicles because Filipinos almost couldn't get out of Metro Manila. NLEX officials also have stated that there will be a 15% increase in traffic volume on the expressway until Monday, April 10. On a normal workday, around 350,000 motorists pass through NLEX daily. But this long weekend, it seems like the entire population of Metro Manila has gathered on NLEX. Stranded Filipinos on NLEX are expressing their frustration, and many pictures and memes of the terrible situation on the expressway are circulating on social media. Some are even joking that they could go camping there. Netizens, please always stay safe. Vin Pascua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
About 10 hours of traffic is experienced from Diversion Road in Lucena, as well as the route from Tayabas to Atimonan, Quezon. Quezon Philippine National Police reports the flooded part of Barangay Talipan in Pagbilao, Quezon has become a bottleneck of slow traffic flow. Pagbilao Mayor Gigi Portes Tanglonghari says the traffic management was carefully planned for this long weekend. However, there are unexpected events that occurred, like the consequent accidents. In the meantime, passengers of private and public transport affected by the traffic took their time to eat in canteens beside the highway. Vendors selling rice snacks, junk food, nuts, eggs, and mineral water gained profit. Meanwhile, local government units of Pagbilao and Atimonan, the PNP, and other volunteers helped to manage the traffic flow. Traffic started at 8 in the morning and ended near 7 in the evening yesterday.
The Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG's monitoring indicates that there are currently 5,000 tourists vacationing on Boracay Island. As a result, the PCG, in collaboration with the police and the Bureau of Fire Protection, is closely monitoring the island. The BRP Romblon and BRP Kalangaman are patrolling the waters of Malay Aklan to ensure the safety of tourists who are engaging in water activities. However, the PCG is not solely focused on Boracay, as they are also also monitoring the docks. In light of recent incidents involving the MT Princess Empress and the burnt MV Lady Mary Joy III, they are conducting more stringent inspections. They are ensuring that the boats have life-saving and firefighting equipment.
The Philippine National Police warns the public to avoid posting vacation updates on social media. JD Mahinay tells us more.
Are you fond of posting real-time vacation updates on your social media accounts? The Philippine National Police, or PNP, has a reminder for the public who are visiting their provincial homes this long holiday. People who will leave their homes unattended must secure their doors and make sure their windows are locked to avoid the akyat bahay modus. They can entrust their houses to their neighbors and tell them of their scheduled return. The PNP also urges the public to install real-time closed-circuit television cameras.
Pwede rin maglagay tayo doon ng mga CCTVs. Mura na lang po ang CCTV. Yung mga CCTV na pwedeng makita yung feed sa cellphone. Makatutulong po yon para ma-monitor natin ng 24/7 yung ating mga tahanan.
People traveling by public transport are advised to avoid bringing a huge amount of cash. Limit wearing expensive jewelry and bringing gadgets. For those traveling in their private vehicles, secure stable conditions when driving on long trips. Before traveling, it is important to check blow baggage or battery, lights, oil, water, brakes, air, gas, engine, tire, and self.
Isa ring importante ay yung kondisyon ng driver. Dapat hindi po siya puyat, dapat hindi siya pagod, at nasa tamang kondisyon sa pagdadrive. At yun naman pong mga gagamit ng pampublikong sasakyan. Tayo po ay observe po natin ng maigi yung ating tinatawag na minimum public health standard.
JD Mahinay for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Health reminds the public to be cautious about excessive sun exposure, which could lead to various skin diseases, including skin cancer. Madeline Villar Moratillo files this report.
During the summer season, many Filipinos like to go to the beach. However, the Department of Health reminds the public to be cautious about excessive sun exposure, which can cause skin burns.
Alam po nyo, may mga levels tayo ng burn, no? Yung pagkasunog ng ating mga balat. May mga first degree, second degree, third degree. So ito pong sunburn, we consider it already as part of this parang dimension, no, ng pagkakasunog ng balat. That's why it's called sunburn. So minsan makikita nyo, hindi lamang po namula yung inyong mga balat, nagtutubig na yung ibang nabibilad masyado sa araw. And that is a form of a degree of burn already in our skin. Pero yung nagstay kayo the whole day under the sun, tapos nakita nyo yung balat nyo ay hindi na lamang po namumula pero parang pumuputok-putok na, at katulad nga ng sabi ko, yung iba nagtutubig, kailangan nyo na hong magpatingin sa doktor.
Another disease that can be caused by excessive sun exposure is skin cancer. According to Health Officer in Charge, Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, skin cancer is the 26th most common cancer that affects Filipinos. Constant exposure to the sun is a known factor that can cause skin cancer. Undersecretary Vergere advises to avoid going out when the sun is at its strongest to prevent this disease. From 2011 to 2021, 2,102 people in the country had been diagnosed with skin cancer. The DOH recommends avoid going outside during peak hours from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. when the sun is most intense. However, for Enrico, a traffic enforcer who has been on duty from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. for 13 years, he says he has no choice but to be exposed during those hours. That's why he just wears protective clothing when exposed to the sun.
Eto katulad po ngayon, sobrang init dahil nandito kami. Nagsuot na lang po ako nito. Actually, bawal talaga eh. Kaya lang sobrang init.
Sa ano, hindi kayo nagsusumbrero?
Nagsusumbrero rin.
But when it's really unbearable, he also seeks shelter in the shade. He also always brings water with him, especially during the hot weather. With these reminders, the DOH hope Filipinos can safely enjoy their holidays under the sun. Madeline Villar Moratillo for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Expect an increase in fuel pump prices next week. Oil industry sources say the price per liter of gasoline may increase by 2 pesos and 50 cents to 2 pesos and 80 cents, whereas the price per liter of diesel may increase by 1 peso and 30 cents to 1 peso and 60 cents. Brace also for a kerosene price hike of 50 cents per liter. Some sources say price hikes may likely change after the result of trading days.
Yet more price increases. The Department of Agriculture says retail prices of rice are expected to rise in the next weeks due to the farm gate prices. The agency also cites higher cost of inputs and low buffer stock as reasons for the price hike. Secretary and Deputy Spokesperson Rex Estoperez projects a 5 peso increase per kilo of rice. He says the price hike is a normal occurrence during summer. He explains during the summer harvest season, the palay is already dry, which causes the normally high price of rice.
Pag-asa says the ridge of a high-pressure area is extended over northern Luzon. This will bring partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms all over the country. Pag-asa says northern Luzon will experience moderate to strong wind speed moving in the northeast. Meanwhile, coastal waters will be moderate to rough. Pag-asa also warns of flash floods or landslides during severe thunderstorms this weekend. Coming up, Israel launches airstrike on Gaza. Protests against pension reform in France continue. And China sends warships and aircraft around Taiwan for second day. Stay tuned for more stories around the globe when we return.
Ay mga ka-netizens, ako po si Vic Soto ng Lab Boss Legantali. For more live and updates, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Net25 TV.
Upang di magkalayo kailanman. Bakit pa yung mga kanta mo parang talambuhay naming lahat o edad lang ba namin yon?
Ako, kung magsalata na ganyan. Yung mga kanta kasi yan, hindi naman buhay ko yan. Ginagawa ko yan para sa kanila. Mayroong lungkot sa iyong mga mata, kay sarap ng may minamahal. Mahal kita maging sino ka man. Nagtatanong lang sa'yo. Di ba?
Ako pa kaya'y ibigin mo kahit maputi na ang buhok ko. Kantahan tayo. Pagtsatsagaan mo ako, Ray Valera in Corina Interviews.
Yes!
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. Israel has launched airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. The strikes late Thursday are in retaliation for a barrage of cross-border rockets fired from Lebanon. The rocket fire is being blamed on Palestinian groups. This is what it looked like last night as the Israelis hit their targets on the Gaza Strip. A Palestinian source says the strike hit several Hamas training sites. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed that Israel's enemies will pay the price. Earlier Thursday, 34 rockets had been fired from Lebanon into Israeli territory. Israeli emergency services report one man had been wounded by shrapnel. A woman suffered injuries while running to a shelter during the attack.
As the search continues in Japan for the missing crew members on board the Black Hawk, fragments are found believed to be from the missing helicopter. An unused lifeboat with matching serial numbers as the missing helicopter, a door belonging to the same aircraft, and other parts have been found near its presumed crash site. Believed to have crashed at sea, the UH-60JA Black Hawk carrying 10 crew members departed on a base on Miyako Island. According to the head of Ground Self-Defense Force, Yasunori Morishita, the crew disappeared while on a reconnaissance mission in the southern Japan islands. The raider lost the chopper just 10 minutes after it left the base. Defense Minister Yasukazu Hamada, visibly anguished, told the reporters that none of the crew has yet to be found. He said that they will continue the rescue efforts while gathering information on the extent of damage.
Radical protesters clashed with French security forces Thursday in a new show of anger against President Emmanuel Macron's pension reforms. Police arrested dozens of demonstrators. Crowds are smaller than at the beginning of March when 1.2 million people protested nationwide. But 570,000 people still turned out to this latest day of action. The demonstrations are in response to Macron's proposal to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. Hardline protesters pelted paint against the shields of riot police. A group of men dressed in black threw stones and set off fireworks. Elsewhere, protesters attacked a bank branch, breaking windows and carrying off files and computer keyboards. Police fired tear gas at protesters who threw projectiles. Striking railway workers stormed a building that houses companies such as the BlackRock investing firm. Labor leaders have called for another day of protests for April 13th.
French President Emmanuel Macron delivers a speech to 100 students in Guangzhou, China. He tells the students that they have a strong country, but he worries about rising tensions. He says the tension between the United States and China is strategic in nature. He also admits the return of war in Europe. He asserts that Russia's aggression in Ukraine violates international law.
Le rôle de l'INALCO, évidemment.
Un petit souvenir pour votre discours. En effet,
Pour mon pays, parce que vous avez un pays fort, un modèle de développement formidable, mais inquiet de la montée des tensions. Et je crois que si j'étais un jeune Européen, ce que je ne suis malheureusement plus, je le serais tout autant. Et devant ce défi stratégique, je crois que votre génération a beaucoup à faire. Nous avons une montée des tensions.
The head of the World Health Organization says he is sure China has more information about COVID-19 than it has shared. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says without that data, questions remain about how the virus originated. More than 3 years after COVID-19 first surfaced, debate rages around the origins of the pandemic.
So I think without full access to the information that China has, you cannot say this or that. All hypotheses are on the table. That's WHO's position, and that's why we have been asking China to be cooperative on this. If they would do that, then we will know what happened or how it started.
Chinese scientists have published analysis of samples taken more than 3 years ago from Huanan Seafood Market. The marketplace has been linked to the outbreak of COVID-19. Local reports say this is the first peer-reviewed study of biological evidence gathered from the market back in 2020. The research shows swabs that tested positive for the virus also contained genetic material from wild animals. Some scientists say this is more evidence that the disease was initially transmitted from an infected animal to a human. Yet others warn over interpreting the COVID origin findings. They say it remains unclear why it took 3 years for the genetic content of the samples to be made public.
Beijing sent warships and aircraft near Taiwan for a second day on Friday and insisted the island remains an inseparable part of China. This after Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen angered Beijing by meeting with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Taiwan's defense ministry says 3 Chinese warships sailed in waters surrounding the self-ruled island, while a fighter jet and an anti-submarine helicopter also crossed the island's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. Hours before Tsai met McCarthy in Los Angeles on her way back from Latin America, China's Shandong aircraft carrier sailed through Taiwan's southeastern waters on its way to the Western Pacific. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said China's sovereignty and territorial integrity will never be divided. She added the future of Taiwan lies in reunification with the motherland.
China pledges to work with the Middle East on security and stability. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning announced China's decision after top diplomats from Iran and Saudi Arabia met in Beijing for talks. Tehran and Riyadh's visit to Beijing came as French President Emmanuel Macron and EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen were also in the Chinese capital. Macron and von der Leyen seek Xi Jinping's government to bring an end to the Russia and Ukraine conflict.
中方对沙伊双方持续改善关系表示欢迎和赞赏，愿继续积极发挥斡旋作用，支持沙伊双方不断增信事宜，实现睦邻友好，为促进中东地区的安全稳定和发展贡献中国智慧和力量。
North Korea on Friday confirmed Beijing's new ambassador has taken up his post in Pyongyang. Analysts say China's Wang Yajun is the first senior diplomat that Pyongyang state media confirmed has entered the country since early 2020. Wang was initially appointed to his current post in 2021, but his arrival was delayed due to Pyongyang's pandemic border restrictions. Local reports say Wang's entry in North Korea could be a sign that Pyongyang has effectively started reopening its border. Beijing is Pyongyang's most important ally and economic benefactor. Records say their relationship is forged during the Korean War in the 1950s. Sources say China also accounts for more than 90% of North Korea's trade.
A North Korean international security analyst says the world is on the brink of nuclear war because of the drills being conducted by the U.S. and South Korea. Speaking to state media KCNA, Cho Joo-hyun notes that the joint air and sea drills involving American B-1B and B-52 bombers and large-scale amphibious landings. He says they are a trigger for driving the situation on the Korean peninsula to the point of explosion. He adds the reckless military confrontational hysteria of the U.S. and its followers against North Korea will lead to an irreversible catastrophe. North Korea has vowed to take offensive action in response to the drills, which Choi has or says have turned the Korean peninsula into a huge power magazine, which can be detonated at any moment.
The Biden administration is investigating a major breach of American intelligence. Classified documents detailing secret U.S. and NATO plans for bolstering the Ukrainian military were leaked online. Here's Prince Luminado to tell us more.
the United States government investigates a major breach of classified information concerning American intelligence. The leaked documents detail secret plans between the US and NATO to strengthen the Ukrainian military in preparation for an upcoming counteroffensive against Russian forces. The documents, which are 5 weeks old, are posted on both Twitter and Telegram, revealing detailed information about Ukraine's requirement as they prepare to take back territory lost to Russia during the invasion last year. The documents also detail how the US and NATO can provide support to the Ukrainian military. Although the documents do not provide specific battle plans, US officials hint that the counteroffensive is expected in the next month. Military analysts who have reviewed the documents note that some parts appear to be modified and exaggerated, including the number of Ukrainian casualties compared to Russian casualties. One side claims that Russia has lost 16,000 to 17,500 soldiers since the invasion, while Ukraine has suffered as many as 71,500 troop deaths. However, this is a gross underestimate, as the Pentagon and other analysts estimate that nearly 200,000 Russian soldiers have been killed or injured, while Ukraine has had more than 100,000 casualties. The leaked documents also refer to the High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, or HIMARS, which have significantly boosted Ukraine's military capabilities. The HIMARS allow for long-distance attacks on ammunition dumps, troops, and critical Russian infrastructure in occupied areas. It has been confirmed by the Pentagon that the leak is currently being reviewed, and the matter is being reviewed by the department as stated by Sabrina Singh, the Deputy Press Secretary at the Pentagon, who said the reports of the social media posts are being aware of, and the matter is under review by the department. With the investigation into the classified documents underway and the Ukrainian military preparing for their upcoming counteroffensive, the situation in Ukraine may escalate further. Prince Limonero for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The head of Russia's mercenary outfit, the Wagner Group, says his troops continue to suffer losses. Yevgeny Prigozhin visited a cemetery where the group's fighters are buried. In a video released by his press service, Prigozhin admits the cemetery is growing. He says fighters sometimes die, and that is how life works. Wagner forces have been spearheading offensives in eastern Ukraine, including the city of Bakhmut. That battle has become the largest and bloodiest battle of Russia's military campaign. Both sides have suffered heavy losses. Russia has not given updated estimates of losses since last September, when it counted nearly 6,000 dead. That number does not include Wagner fighters who are not part of the conventional army. Western estimates suggests both sides have about 150,000 dead and wounded soldiers.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Belarusian counterpart Alexander Lukashenko discussed bilateral cooperation and security concerns. From Moscow, RT correspondent Donald Corder files this report.
We recently heard the initial statements from both the Russian president and the Belarusian president here at the meeting of the Supreme Council of the Union State, and they both really focused on a lot of similar themes. More recently, we heard from Vladimir Putin, who said that that there have been a lot of achievements in terms of cooperation between the two Union states in the defense industry, in building a capable force that can defend both Union states from terrorism. And this is something that also Alexander Lukashenko said during his initial statement, saying that both countries had successfully created a military force that can successfully defend these two Union states from terrorism, specifically from terrorism as well as drug trafficking and the trafficking of weapons. He brought up the fact that this unending flow of weapons into Ukraine has, to a certain extent, spilled over into Belarus through Russia's border regions. This is something that the forces connected to the Union State have been able to get a handle on. And as we heard earlier, Lukashenko also commented on the fact that both Russia and Belarus see eye to eye in terms of foreign policy. Alexander Lukashenko even said that right now the West is beefing up NATO's defenses more than ever because they've come to the understanding that the economic blockade involving sanctions that they deployed against Belarus and Russia have essentially failed. And now they're moving to this next step of trying to rely more on military intimidation more than anything else. So that's basically a wrap-up of both what Vladimir Putin and Alexander Lukashenko have said so far at this meeting.
Up next, ice storm in eastern Canada leaves 2 dead. White House blames Donald Trump for traumatic Afghan exit. And 11 Latin American nations announce inflation battle plan. Please stay tuned. We've got more stories coming your way when Mata ng Agila International returns.
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders, Quezon City Motor Vehicle Inspection Center.
Masasabi niyo ba na nagbago na ang panlasa ng Pinoy pagdating sa kung ano ang kanilang panonoorin?
We evolve as a person. So, nag-iiba rin yung preferences natin.
The TV industry is dying at online na raw ang magiging preferred medium natin.
Online, meron din yung mga snackable videos. Yan ang nakakaagaw ng oras sa panonood ng TV at sa panonood mo online.
Nabawasan na ba ang kalidad ng mga programa at pelikulang gawa ng Pinoy?
Sadly, outside of the MMFF for this year, mahihina po ang mga box office ng mga movies natin.
Ano na ba ang hilig panoorin ng mga kababayan natin ngayon? May say-say pa ba? Mag-reality check tayo.
Two people are dead after an ice storm battered eastern Canada and left about 1 million people without electricity. The storm pummeled Canada's 2 largest provinces, Ontario and Quebec. Fallen trees blocked roads and downed power lines. An Ontario resident died after being hit by a falling tree. Near Montreal, Quebec, a man in his 60s died after being crushed by a branch he tried to cut while clearing his yard. Some power has been restored, but for many in Quebec, the lights will be out for a while. Montreal became a virtual ice garden when the storm hit. Ice covered traffic lights, bicycles, vehicles, fire escapes, and anything else outdoors. Authorities figure it will take several weeks to clean up the mess. Emergency centers are providing shelter for people without electricity. Temperatures are hovering near the freezing mark.
U.S. President Joe Biden has accepted an invitation from King Charles III for a state visit. A White House spokesperson said the invitation was made during a friendly 25 to 30-minute phone call. Biden congratulated the king on his upcoming coronation, but White House said the president will not attend the royal event. Sources say this is in keeping with the tradition that U.S. presidents do not attend British monarchs' coronations. President Dwight Eisenhower also skipped Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953. White House said the First Lady, Jill Biden, will represent the U.S. on the president's behalf.
The White House has released a long-awaited review of the U.S. exit from Afghanistan. It lays blame on Donald Trump and a huge intelligence failure, but defends overall the U.S. conduct of the traumatic operation. In the summary, the White House cites a February 2022 deal struck between Trump's administration and the Taliban, saying it put up the upcoming Biden government in an impossible position. It also stresses that Trump, in his final 11 months in office, had steadily reduced the U.S. troop presence in Afghanistan, reaching just 2,500 personnel by the time Biden took office in January 2021. But it also acknowledges that U.S. intelligence services had failed to understand the Taliban's strength, as well as the weakness of Afghan government forces that Western countries has spent years propping up. The pullout, ending on August 30, 2021, shocked Americans and U.S. allies. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby concedes mistakes had been made in the exit.
And clearly we didn't get things right here with Afghanistan, about how fast the Taliban were moving across the country. I don't think we fully anticipated the degree to which they were constructing these deals in the hinterlands that kind of fell like dominoes. We didn't anticipate how fast the Afghan National Security Forces were going to fold. We're not going to fight for their country, particularly after we had, as I said, dedicated 20 years, trained and equipped them. I don't think we fully appreciated the degree of corruption that was in the officer ranks in the military. I could go on.
The Taliban seized control of Afghanistan within weeks, forcing the last American troops and their allies into a desperate evacuation. The classified review has been sent to Congress to be reviewed by a Republican-ruled House of Representatives.
In the U.S., Tennessee's Republican-led state legislature expelled 2 Democratic lawmakers who led gun control protests at the state capitol. This in the wake of a school shooting. The pair were among what became known as the Tennessee Three, a trio of representatives who led protest chants a week ago from the House floor using a bullhorn as peaceful demonstrators rallied in the gallery of the Nashville Capitol building. The 3 had not been recognized to speak and were accused of breaching House decorum and floor rules. Lawmakers voted along mostly party lines to expel Justin Jones and Justin Pearson. A vote to expel the 3rd member of the group, Gloria Johnson, failed. The 3 rallied for gun control after a shooter killed 3 students and 3 staff at an elementary school on March 27.
Twitter CEO Elon Musk says switching the world's towards clean energy would need $10 trillion worth of investment. But economies would lose even more if they continue to rely on fossil fuels. According to Tesla's Master Plan Part 3 document, the cost of continuing to produce oil, coal, and natural gas at 2022 rates would total at about $14 trillion over the next 2 decades. Making the switch to clean energy will require an almost tenfold increase in renewable power capabilities. The $10 trillion investment cost of a cleaner world is high, but Musk argues that's just a fraction of the $100 trillion global economy, entirely feasible when spread out over 2 decades.
Don't expect to see any interest rate relief soon. The head of the International Monetary Fund says central banks must keep up the battle against inflation. And Kristalina Georgieva says that means higher interest rates.
Why? Because inflation is still there. And until it is in a very sound manner going down, central banks have to stay the course. But they have to stay the course. We expect the world economy to grow less than 3% this year.
Georgieva expects global economic growth to remain at that level for the next 5 years.
Leaders of 11 Latin American nations announced a shared plan to address rampant inflation. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador says the initiative will give people access to food and basic products at better prices. He believes this measure could be achieved by removing import tariffs and other trade barriers. Brazil, Argentina, Belize, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Cuba, Honduras, Venezuela, St. Vincent and Grenadines joined Mexico's initiative. Latin America, like other parts of the world, is suffering from elevated inflation due to shortages linked to pandemic and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. International Monetary Fund says inflation for the whole region last year ended at 14.8%. However, Argentina's inflation hit around 95%, the highest in more than 30 years. Though the pace of consumer price increases has moderated recently in countries such as Mexico, López Obrador says it is not a threat. The leaders agreed to create a working group from each country to determine cooperation measures. Their particular concern is fertilizers, as it is one of the products most affected by the Ukraine war. Yet, an expert says the big challenge is the weakness of Latin American economic integration. López Obrador also invited the leaders to a summit on May 6 to 7 to discuss the issue further. Several thousand people near the Nevado del Ruiz volcano in Colombia are being urged to leave their homes. Increased seismic activity has authorities worried the mountain is about to blow its top. Police on foot patrols are going door to door, warning residents of the impending danger. Up to 2,500 families are living in high-risk areas. Local authorities are being told to speed up evacuations in case the volcano erupts. Scientists say the mountain could blow in the coming days or weeks. Nevado del Ruiz last erupted in 1985. That eruption led to mudslides that buried the town of Armero, killing 25,000 people. Some residents who survived the 1985 disaster say they will stay put.
Now here's a scene meant for the movies. A South African pilot was forced to make an emergency landing after finding a deadly snake aboard his plane. Pilot Rudolf Erasmus was flying 4 passengers on a private flight from Worcester, South Africa to Mbombela. Suddenly, while cruising at 11,000 feet in the air, he felt something cold against his hip crawling up his shirt. Erasmus thought it was a water bottle leak until he looked down and saw the snake receding its head backwards underneath the seat. He recognized it as a Cape Cobra. The snake packs enough venom to kill 9 people. Erasmus announced to the passengers the presence of the cobra and the need for an emergency landing. Thankfully, everyone on the board, including the snake, remained calm. The pilot let the passengers deplane first before successfully removing the cobra. The UK government announced its plan to protect England's water supplies amid a scandal over privatized water companies. From London, England, Catherine Messina tells us more.
Britain announced a plan to protect water supplies amid a long-running scandal over privatized water firms pumping raw sewage into rivers and onto seashores, sparking the closure of a number of UK beaches at the height of the heatwave last summer. On the Isle of Wight, one of England's most popular seaside holiday destinations since Victorian times, a pipeline stretches out from the shore to pump raw sewage into coastal waters. The miles of sandy beaches on the island's northeast coast, packed in summer with tourists and yachting enthusiasts, are nonetheless plagued by untreated wastewater from a number of such pipes.
So I do worry that it's going to affect the tourism. We have some fantastic natural spaces and some amazing blue situations, and if you use the notices that happen, you can enjoy them safely. But what's frustrating is that you have to use those notices to be able to enjoy them. And for me, it affects my mental health, especially over winter when I really want to be in the sea more as a resident, because there was no discharges in the summer season last year for the summer holidays. But when residents are here, there seems to be a lot more because there's more water coming down during those times.
That is a protected area and it's literally the airport for all the migrating birds coming from Siberia, and they feed here on seagrass. If you mix sewage with it, you will kill the seagrass, and therefore you will kill the whole ecosystem, which is so important to this town, our tourism.
The Conservative government says its proposals would clean up our waters and ensure a plentiful supply for the future. It added that the plan for water will seek more investment from water companies, stronger regulation and tougher fines for polluters. The initiative includes a consultation on a ban on wet wipes containing plastic, which are blamed for causing sewer blockages when flushed down the toilet. And it will bring forward £1.6 billion of water infrastructure investment to start between now and 2025, although opponents argued this was not new cash. The fines would be reinvested into a new water restoration fund to support local groups and community-led schemes to clean up waterways. The announcement received a cautious welcome from some quarters, but was condemned as little more than window dressing in others. This is Catherine Messina from London, United Kingdom, for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance celebrates the birth of twin Amur leopard cubs. The International Union for Conservation of Nature classifies the Amur leopards as critically endangered species. The animals have thick, luscious black ringed coats and huge furry tails they can wrap around themselves to keep warm. Experts say there are fewer than 300 Amur leopards left in the world. Coming right up, Russian bank suffers billion-dollar losses. NASA launches a pollution tracker. And Blackpink's Rosé misses her Filipino fans. Catch the latest in business, sports, and entertainment. Matanang Agila International will be back.
Abangan ngayong Sabado sa Ito ang Tahanan.
Ito naman, Rich, hanggang saan at hanggang kailan ang pagtulong ng isang Richard Clark?
Hanggang kaya, hanggat merong itutulong, hanggat may kayang itulong, I will. In my lifetime, no? First time ko yatang magkaroon ng ganung situation na sobrang affected negatively, napakaraming tao worldwide. Tapos nakikita mo. I think I'm one of the most fortunate na na individual at actor.
Ano ba tawag dito sa sandwich, Chef? Chef
Richard Kwan sandwich.
Richard Kwan sandwich.
Ito ang Tahanan tuwing Sabado at Linggo, alas 8 ng umaga, dito lang sa Net 25.
The government of Switzerland has ordered cuts to the bonus pay of top management of Credit Suisse, totaling about $55 to $66 million. This as lawmakers crack down on the downfall of one of the world's largest banks. Reports say nearly 1,000 managers will lose out on tens of millions in bonus payouts. The Swiss Federal Council ordered the cancellation or at least a reduction of either 1/2 or 1/4 of bonuses due to the bank's top executives. Fears of Credit Suisse collapse prompted an emergency takeover by rival bank UBS, which sparked unease and criticism within Switzerland. Credit Suisse was a pillar of the country's totemic banking sector. Lawmakers want to ensure such a situation could never happen again. The Economy Committee of the National Council, the lower house of parliament, has asked the government for an analysis of the determining factors behind the decline of Credit Suisse. Meanwhile, Credit Suisse chairman Axel Lehmann faces angry shareholders at the bank's annual general meeting. He says he is truly sorry that the bank could not be saved after the hasty takeover by UBS.
Doch zum Schluss gab es nur noch die Option Deal oder Konkurs. Die Fusion musste gelingen. Die Regeln dafür waren zu akzeptieren. Die einzige Alternative wäre die bankenrechtliche Sanierung gewesen. Verbunden mit dem schlimmsten Fall, nämlich dem Totalverlust für die Aktionäre, unabsehbaren Risiken für die Kunden, schweren Folgen für die Volkswirtschaft und die globalen Finanzmärkte.
Russia's second-largest bank reports losses of nearly $8 billion this year. VTB says it has $7.7 billion worth of red ink on its ledgers. Chief Financial Officer Dmitry Pianov says the bank faced unprecedented hardships last year. He says Western sanctions are responsible for its poor performance. VTB was one of the first Russian financial institutions to be excluded from the SWIFT global payment system after the Ukrainian war began. The bank adds it suffered an unprecedented outflow of foreign currencies as well as losses related to the disposal of subsidiaries. Interest rate hikes added to the institution's problems. NASA has successfully launched its Falcon 9 rocket from Florida into space, bringing a new instrument that will track air pollution over North America. Tropospheric Emissions Monitoring Pollution, or TEMPO, will allow scientists to monitor air pollutants and emission sources more effectively than before. NASA's TEMPO project manager Kevin Doherty says that during the daytime, TEMPO will measure the pollution and air quality across greater North America from Puerto Rico all the way up to Canada. The TEMPO has a unique feature of a washing machine-sized chemistry laboratory space. It will be hosted on an Intelsat communication satellite in geostationary orbit. Collected data will be made available online to the public to monitor air quality in local areas.
Developmental orbit insertion. Great.
China's Roning Win orchestrates a dramatic finish, narrowly winning her first LPGA tournament by a single stroke at the 18th hole. In Palos Verdes, California, Even and Allen with the report.
The LPGA season is in full swing, returning to California for the first time this year at the DO Implant LA Open.
This last day of tournament play was delayed a few hours because of fog, but thankfully, beautiful SoCal sunshine showed up with an assist for today's winner. Leading the tournament at 14 under par was Runing Yin of China. Yin played purposefully through the first 9 holes until, with a deafening crack, she hit a tree on the 10th.
For my game, I have a goal that cannot make 3 putts, cannot make double bogey. And after I hit a tree, I said, let's just make bogey here. don't even think about make par.
The final showdown took place at the 18th hole, with England's Georgia Hall threatening to upset Yin's championship dreams. Sinking the ball here would have secured the win, but Yin's putt rimmed in and out. Hall was now poised to force a tiebreaker, but ultimately her putt missed its mark. With a fist pump and triumphant yell, it was Yin who claimed victory at the Dio Implant LA Open.
She played really well and, really good on her. I think she's like rookie or like second year out here. So I'm very pleased for her, and to nearly hold that putt in the last was great. Very tired, mentally drained, but really happy with the way I played over the, to give myself another chance of winning. But I just got to keep going and keep putting myself in contention. Hopefully the win will come. I'll see you next year.
The winner's cut of the $1.75 million prize purse is hefty at $262,500.
And in the world of sports, a purse like that is a lucrative accessory that pairs well with anything you got in the closet.
Reporting from Palos Verdes, California, Ivan Allen for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Hugh Jackman has announced that he is now clear of skin cancer. In an earlier Instagram post, Hugh Jackman stated that he was undergoing biopsies in regards to skin problems. The 54-year-old actor initially had a cancerous growth from his nose removed in 2013. He also said that the problem could have been a result of what happened 25 years ago and was just showing now. He has strongly warned the public to always remember to wear sunscreen, especially in extremely hot countries.
In an Instagram post, Rosé of Blackpink expresses her heartfelt appreciation to Filipino fans who attended their two-night concert at the Philippine Arena. A real video of her backstage shows the K-pop star looking stunning in a chic black dress. In her post, it says, "Philippines, you are cute and very loud," with a pink ribbon emoji. It also added, "Miss you already." Rosé's Instagram post brings smiles to many Filipino fans who comment they miss her too. The two-night concert was a success, as tickets were sold out for the massive Philippine Arena, the world's largest indoor arena. Filipino Blinks, as their fans are called, are undoubtedly looking forward to Blackpink's return to the country. To end this week, here's a quote from American author Alan H. Cohen. "There is virtue in work and there is virtue in rest. Use both and overlook neither."
But it's really hard to strike a balance between work and rest. But we have to manage every single day, right?
Yes, the way I manage it, I like to relax on the weekends.
Let's see about this weekend, Randy.
Yes, and that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Randy Bernardino.
And I am Nina Richie-Alago Flores, wishing you a meaningful weekend. This is Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.